Okay, hello, it's just past 10 o'clock, so welcome to the open proceedings of this licensing subcommittee. Right at the very beginning, I have to give you the fire evacuation procedures. There's no plan for any test case this morning, so if the fire alarm goes, officers will lead you in the right direction, I think. There's an exit at the back and there's an exit here, and we'll gather in the Memorial Park. Okay? And also, can I ask you to either switch off your mobile phones or put them to silent? Thank you. And also now to note that the open proceedings of this meeting are being recorded and live streamed. So you'll all be on camera. So it's important to, when you do speak, to switch the right-hand button on your microphone. And I'm told that that will bring the camera onto your face. Okay, thank you very much. There's quite a bit to go before we actually start. It's one of those sort of meetings where we have to get the procedure correct. So the very first thing is to make some introductions. First of all, the subcommittee. I've been elected chair of this meeting, and I'm Diane Taylor, and the ward that I cover is Oakley and the Candovers, right over the far side of the village. And my colleagues are?
I'm a ward councillor for Overton, Whitchurch, Laverstoke and Freefolk.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Councillor Falconer of Evingart, which is Highclere, Eastwoody, St Mary-Bourne, the far west.
Thank you. The next thing I have to do is ask if anybody has any objection to any members of the committee. That's good. Very pleased. And then I will ask if any members of the committee have a personal or prejudicial interest in this matter. No, we're all clear. Thank you. Next, can I ask the legal officer to introduce herself and confirm that she's here to advise only?
Hello, my name's Debbie Berry. I'm a legal advisor to the council. I'm here to advise on the procedure and the law, and I'll remain in private session while the councillors deliberate, but I'm not a decision maker.
And good morning, I'm Tola Otudeko, a principal lawyer, and I will be assisting Debbie. Sorry. Start again. Good morning, everyone. I am Tola Otudeko, principal lawyer, and I'm here supporting Debbie. I will not be taking any part in the decision making either. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the lead licensing officer, please.
Good morning, I'm Angela Shamowo. I'm the licensing officer for Basingstoke and Dean and Hart District Council. I'll be presenting the report this morning.
Thank you very much. I don't know if all of you are planning to speak or not, but if I could just, I think probably best if I just read out the names I've got and to just check with you if you're planning to speak and if there's anybody else here who's registered to speak that I haven't got. So first of all, Councillor Cubitt. Yes, I know you are. Old Basing and Litchpit Parish Council. Thank you very much. And your name is?
Peter Blois.
Peter?
Blois.
Blois. Thank you. Now, John Maguire. You're planning to speak? Yes, okay. Anne Thornley. You'll be speaking. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Rock?
Yeah.
Just Mr.? Yeah. Mr. Rock. Thank you. And Gillian Moore. Thank you. Have I missed anybody who has registered to speak?
I wish to speak.
Okay, that's fine. And you're very welcome, but obviously only the people who've registered in advance will be speaking. Okay, thank you very much. And now for the applicants. Sian Loveridge? Who am I looking at? Okay, Sian, you'll be speaking?
Sean and Derek will be speaking.
Okay, so Sean Carberry and Derek Sheehan. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So, my next job is to ask our legal advisor if the required public notices and notifications have been made.
Licensing, can you confirm that, please?
Yes, the application was advertised at the premises, the perimeter where it abuts the highway, and it was also published in a local newspaper.
Thank you very much. Now, before we go to the actual procedure, I will just say that what the purpose is of this subcommittee, just to reiterate, you all know what it is. The purpose of this subcommittee meeting is to hear all representations and make a decision regarding an application for a new premises licence relating to Old School Neverland. The proposal is for an annual 3-day event with live and recorded music and the sale of alcohol to be located in fields between Riley Lane, Newnham Lane and Wildwood Farm, off Newnham Lane, Old Basing. Thank you. And it's important to make clear at the beginning of this, because I know that obviously there are lots of objections that we've got on various issues. But this is, as you're aware, a licensing hearing, and the only matters which we'll actually be deciding are to do with the 3 licensable activities that have been applied for. And that is the sale of alcohol, the playing of live music and the playing of recorded music. So it's all those things, plus anything that's peripheral to that as well, obviously. So having made that clear, first of all, the general procedure. As usual, all representations and procedural questions should come through the chair. That's just to keep order and make sure that we're not talking across the room. Generally, and unless agreed by all, no evidence may be submitted for the first time at this hearing. Next, timing. I don't generally like to put a strict time limit on people speaking because it's really important that we hear everything you've got to say. But there are quite a few speakers and we don't want it to go on forever. Generally, no more than 4 minutes. I'll play it by ear, but if I feel it's necessary, I might just cut in and ask you to wind up fairly quickly. I'm sure that won't be necessary. Yes, I think we will put the 4-minute timer on mainly so that I know how long people have been going on. But as I say, I want to make sure I hear what everyone has to say. Evidence in a hearing such as this that relates to the 2003 Licensing Act must focus on the 4 licensing objectives, and they are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Those are the general points of procedure. Now, the actual procedure this morning, will be, I will ask people to speak in order. First of all, the licensing officer to outline the application. There's no responsible authority, but then people who want to make representations, that's those of you who've introduced yourself, and then the applicant and the representatives will put their case. Now, following each submission, members of the committee may ask for clarification on any points made, so I'll be inviting my colleagues to ask any questions they want to, and at my discretion, other participants can also ask for points of clarification. It's not that you argue the point, it's just that you very politely ask if you could clarify. Okay. Then before we go into our closed session, and I will actually be closing the meeting after this public time, I'll be inviting the 3 main participants to sum up. Now, obviously there are quite a lot of speakers from members of the public, so if there's any one of you who might feel that they can draw together some of the points and just sum it up succinctly, that will be quite helpful. And after that, I will be inviting you to leave. So, are you all happy with that? You all understand what's going to happen? Yes. Okay, so let's start, and I will ask Ms. Shimowo, please, if you would just outline the application for us.
Thank you, Chair. You're very well pronounced of my surname. As Chair has outlined, today's hearing is to determine a new premises licence application made by ATL Hospitality and Events Limited. Details of the application are shown within the report and appendices. The application is being processed in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003 and associated regulations. The application relates to an annual weekend event and proposes the sale of alcohol, live and recorded music. These activities will take place at the times shown in paragraph 2.2 of the report, and they are Friday, Saturday and Sunday, all of these days, 12 noon till 10:30 in the evening. Within their application, which can be found at Appendix 1, the applicant describes their proposed premises as a 3-day event with camping during the summer months on an annual basis, which would involve licensable activities on a 3-day consecutive period over a weekend, between May and September. We plan to promote the event locally and to allow day and weekend visitor tickets in addition to weekend camping tickets, and we are not proposing late finishing hours. During the 28-day consultation period, a total of 45 opposing representations were received, which were mostly from residents, but includes 2 borough councillors and 2 parish councils. These can be found at Appendix 4A and 4B. The objections relate to all four licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The objections mainly refer to traffic concerns and the disruption the proposed event may cause to residents and road users, and anticipated noise from music and festival goers at the event. During the consultation period, 12 supportive representations were received by the licensing authority, and they can be found at Appendix 5. The applicant also received some positive replies directly via social media, which were provided to officers. All of the positive responses can be found in Appendix 5. However, those responses provided by the applicant cannot be considered as formal representations. During the pre-application advice stage, the environmental health team had sight of the applicant's draft event safety management plan. They advised the licensing team that the applicant would have to meet the Code of Practice on Environmental Noise Control at Concerts, which is issued by the Noise Council, and also provide a detailed noise management plan. This information was passed on to the applicant prior to them submitting the application. Since then, D&B Solutions UK Limited, who act as a professional event noise management company who provide end-to-end project development, system planning, installation and monitoring, have finalised the noise management plan specific to this event on behalf of the applicant, and this can be found in the supplementary agenda. During the consultation period, the Hampshire Constabulary contacted the applicant to propose conditions of licence, which the applicant agreed to, and these can be found in Appendix 6. It should be noted that no other responsible authorities, including the Council's Environmental Health team, made representations opposing the application. Despite the licensing team's efforts to offer mediation between all parties, no opposing representations were withdrawn. As is normal practice when events taking place within the borough where expected numbers of attendees are likely to exceed 500 persons, a safety advisory group, also known as SAG, was convened on the 9th of October to consider and discuss event proposals and management measures. A SAG is made up of the event organisers, the relevant authority stakeholders, meeting to assess event proposals and to feed back to planned activities. The SAG exists to consider event management proposals and to promote events being run responsibly and in promotion of the licensing objectives. SAG members advise event organisers to delivering a safe event based on the event safety management plan and risk assessments. Minutes of the SAG can be found at Appendix 3. ATL Hospitality and Events Limited and SAG members committed to working together and continue discussions working towards improving event management measures such as perimeter fencing security, transport provisions and routes, access and egress to the event, and a solid noise management plan. Hampshire Highways were unable to comment as the applicant had not provided a traffic management plan at the time of the SAG meeting. Following the end of the consultation, Old Basing and Litchpit Parish Council instructed a licensing consultant from Trethowens to make further comments on their behalf in relation to their original representation. The letter and email communications with Hampshire Highways and photographs of roads in Old Basing and Newnham Lane can be found in the supplementary agenda. ATL Hospitality and Events Limited provided further documents to support their application at the end of the consultation period. This included the event management and noise management plans. As agreed with Hampshire Constabulary, the applicant also provided a drugs policy and a vulnerability policy, and these documents once again can be found in this supplementary agenda. Extracts of the Basingstoke and Dean Licensing Policy Appendix 7 has been updated due to numerical and typographical errors and is also included in the supplementary agenda. Yesterday, Old Basing and Litchpit Parish Council submitted a further letter and photographs to the licensing team after receiving the applicant's supplementary documentation last Friday, 20th of October. This was sent out to all parties with communication from a householder on Paused Farm Lane who, also after receiving the applicant's supplementary evidence, submitted further comments and photographs. And for clarity, these documents are in addition to the supplementary agenda you have before you. All parties received that via email yesterday. However, late yesterday afternoon, the applicant provided an updated event management plan to show appendices 1 to 5. These appendices show the event layout, the shuttle bus route, the car park, vehicle access points 1 and 2. I request, Chair, whether you would accept these supplementary pages from the event management plan. It was agreed last night that it was too late to distribute that to all parties. I'm sure the applicant will clarify that the changes in the event management plan relate solely to the update of the event layout, which hasn't changed, but the access to the parking areas for the event has changed. And they have also provided 2 photographs of the vehicle access points.
I'm personally happy to, but I have to ask the objectors, have they got copies of this?
No.
Okay, so I think probably, yes, I think we need to have copies. But can they be made? Can somebody make copies for the people present?
Chair,
It's very difficult to talk about them if they haven't got them.
I have 5 copies here.
Okay.
So obviously for yourselves, if you want a couple of copies, and then the remaining copies I can pass to behind. If you need more, I can nip out and make some more copies.
Ask what the amendments.
Can I just see it, please, and then I'll see what the amendments are. Thank you. And how different is it?
Okay, I will show you.
Okay, Ms. Shimowo is just going to explain, it's just one very, very small change actually, I mean it's fairly inconsequential, but she will come and just explain what that small change is and then you can decide if you're happy with that, okay. Not happy with it, but happy for it to be accepted in this meeting. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Cubitt.
Yeah, hi. Just on this matter, the amendment that we as members received was actually a 76-page amendment. So, which includes those, unless those are amended since the 76-page.
These are the amendments. This is the amendment.
That we received last night.
No, these are the amendments that you didn't receive these last night, so we didn't send them out.
Okay. So does everybody else have this that was sent yesterday, the 76-pager?
No, that was sent out on Friday.
Okay, Friday.
So that was sent out on Friday, and you received supplementary documentation yesterday.
So did all the objectors receive the 76-pager?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So this is an amendment to the 76-pager.
Yes. It's just one amendment there.
So Ms. Shimowo, if you stand here, I think probably everybody can probably see because it's quite a big one, isn't it? Just. explain what that small difference is. So my question actually at this stage is just simply, my question at this stage is just simply to ask you, are you happy to accept that as an amendment? And then, obviously you can ask the questions, the more detailed questions later. Are we all agreed?
Just to clarify, there
Yeah.
are 2 photographs as well.
Okay, just show the 2 photographs.
Sure.
They're happy to accept it as part of the...
Yeah, hi, Madam Chairman. I think we collectively, unless I hear anything, do not wish to have this accepted at such a late juncture. We think it's really not proper, and this is an application that's been debated with the council for a number of weeks, and to produce this piece of evidence at the last minute is unacceptable.
Thank you. I mean, I would say that this isn't exactly new evidence. All we've got is 2 photographs of roads that are in existence now, which presumably you know perfectly well. I don't think we can really say we won't accept those pictures because you've got them in your memory and it isn't you. Excuse me. The only other thing is the entrance to the car park. That is as is. And, you know, in a sense, and there's not much we can really do about it. It isn't new evidence. It's just something that was amiss in the previous one. I mean, if you refuse to accept it, then you're accepting something that isn't going to happen anyway. It's the wrong entrance. And it is very minor. I mean, it isn't exactly groundbreaking. It's just further north than was before. Normally, we sort of, I'm asking as a sort of, out of politeness, if you're happy to accept it. Normally, I would expect you to object if it's new evidence of some sort, if it's something completely new that is going to have some material effect on the decision that we make. But this really is just talking about facts rather than new evidence.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. What impact would it have on today's proceedings in the event that we, the objectors, refuse to accept this very last-minute change to the access points?
I don't think I can probably answer that until I get into final discussion with my fellow subcommittee members. But we want to come to a proper decision about this. We want to know everything, and it would almost be foolish if we discuss something as if the entrance is going to be somewhere where it isn't. And I can't quite see what you would gain from saying, oh, you can't accept that. This is just one small fact, and the photographs are just photographs of an existing lane. So it's very difficult to say, but I can't imagine it would make a huge difference to our deliberations. Even entrance to the car parks actually aren't even particularly in our remit when we're talking about alcohol and music. Yes, Councillor Cubitt.
Okay, I've recorded our displeasure. On the basis of your response, we will accept to consider this as part of the proceedings from our side. And obviously, it's for you to run the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Having said, sorry? Oh, yes, of course, yes. And Ms. Shimowo, would you like to complete your representation? Thank you.
So, as well, in carrying out its duties under the Licensing Act 2003, the Licensing Authority must focus on licensing matters only, and the steps it considers are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. Members can only determine matters relatable to licensable activities and which are within the control of the licence holder. As well as promoting the objectives, the Licensing Act has other key aims and purposes for everybody involved in licensing work. These are listed within the Section 182 guidance at paragraph 1.5 and attached in Appendix 8. These include protecting the public and local residents from crime, antisocial behaviour, noise nuisance caused by irresponsible licensed premises, giving the police and licensing authorities the powers they need to effectively manage and police the nighttime economy and take action against those premises that are causing problems, recognising the important role which pubs and other premises play in our local communities by minimising the regulatory burden on businesses, encouraging innovation and supporting responsible premises, providing a regulatory framework for alcohol which reflects the needs of local communities and empowers local authorities to make and enforce decisions about the most appropriate licensing strategies for their local area, and encouraging greater community involvement in licensing decisions and giving local residents the opportunity to have their say regarding licence decisions that may affect them. Licensees have a responsibility to ensure licensable activities are run responsibly and in compliance with the licensing authorisations and conditions. So when determining the application, the subcommittee must consider All the evidence of all parties at today's hearing have regard to the Council's licensing policy and guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, then take the steps they consider appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. The options available to the committee are contained under Section 18, paragraph 4 of the Licensing Act 2003 and are shown within paragraph 5.3 of the report. Applications must be considered on their own merits, with activities and conditions needing to be tailored to the application. The Section 182 guidance includes a section regarding licence conditions at paragraph 1.16, which states that licence conditions must be practical, enforceable, relating to licensable activities of the premises, and worded such that they can be complied with. The subcommittee's main focus today, at today's hearing on the steps considered appropriate to the promotion of the licensing objectives that have given rise to the representations and should avoid straying into undisputed areas. In determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interest of local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all parties, the guidance and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. It is pertinent the subcommittee give comprehensive reasons for their decision. It is particularly important that reasons should address the extent to which the decision has been made with regard to the Council's statement of licensing policy and the Section 182 guidance. If the subcommittee determined to depart from the Council's statement of licensing policy, they must provide reasons behind any departure. The subcommittee must determine the application and provide their decision notice within 5 working days of today's hearing. And this sets out the application and the procedure to determine it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, well, let's begin with the representations now. So can I ask Councillor Cubitt, would you like to start? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and fellow committee members for allowing me to address this committee. I am responding on behalf of all 3 of us ward members, and in response to my original submission, where I couldn't have been more clear in my belief that, if approved, it would cause a significant public nuisance to a large swathe of residential properties less than half a mile from the location and pose a threat to public safety with 15,000 revellers accessing the site. So, in order for this application to be successful, all the 4 licensing objectives have to be met. And I would like to suggest to the committee that 2 of these objectives are compromised, as in my original submission, them being public safety and public nuisance. I will deal first with public safety. The 2 vehicle access and exit points are Newnham Lane going into Wildmoor Lane and Ashmore Lane going into the farm track, which leads to a car parking area. The clue is in the word lane, or lanes. They are just that. They are both narrow, winding in many places, single lanes at various points, with only very few passing points, if any. There are no pedestrian pavements. Neither Newnham Lane nor Ashmore Lane are suitable for this event, with 15,000 people expected, which represents double the population of Basing and Lichpit together. Up to 9,000 vehicles, equipment lorries, emergency vehicles, vehicles delivering provisions, alcohol, tents, etc., etc., etc. You will note that Hampshire Highways quotes on page 43 that they are unable to comment, as no traffic management plan has been provided. The access and exit points are wholly unsuitable for an event of this magnitude, and we believe that public safety is clearly compromised. I would like to add that I am disappointed to receive that amendment, whilst minor in any event. The proposal is for the car parks to be, and the event to be, next door to 2 very significant ancient woodlands as described by Natural England. This brings us to public nuisance. We are advised that the event set up will start around the 19th of August 2024 and clear down will be finished by the 1st of September 2024. This is a 2-week period. The Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council Environmental Health Team Leader points out again on page 43 that contrary to the applicant's noise management plan, the location is not rural. Our officers state it is within a residential village. The population of Basing and Lichpit is close to 8,000. Approximately 2,000 of these residents live half a mile from the edge of this event. A further 3,000 live within 3/4 of a mile of this event, and all 8,000 will be within audio range of the music. Even worse, this site is on the edge of the River Loddon Valley, which will echo the noise bombardment. As I'm sure you are all aware, noise is amplified by river basins. Our residents will be subjected to the unreasonable bombardment of noise from midday till 10:30 p.m. on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. This is completely unacceptable over a weekend when most people will be at home. Moreover, the statement on page 42 is factually inaccurate, wherein it states SC has visited the residents of Newnham Lane that are adjacent to the festival's main car park, and the majority are happy for the festival to go ahead. I'd also like to flag the comments made by our officer on Agenda 5, and I would just like Madam Chairman, for you to note, and for the committee members to note, that firstly, the applicant is in breach of our community Facebook page by reproducing what was said on that community page, and therefore I'm not sure it should be permissible in this chamber. Moreover, I said on my page, I posted it on the 15th of September, and yet of the 11 supporters, 6 of them sent their support on the 1st of September, so they did not submit their support at the time of my posting. Only 5 did. And we have no idea where most of those, in fact, I don't have any idea where any of those contributors are. I don't know where they live. They might live in Newport. So anyway, that is my case. I humbly request that you reject this application on the basis of the evidence that I have just given you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for clarification? Anybody at this stage? No?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, can I ask Mr. Blois for the Parish Council, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peter Blois, Chairman of Old Basing Lichpit Parish Council. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to reinforce the Parish Council's objections set out in its letter of the 4th of October, page 84 of the report, and the presentation from our solicitors, Trethowens, on the 18th of October in the papers before you. Parish Council fully relies on its representation on both these documents, and I just wish to highlight the significant impact this event would have on local residents, both in terms of noise and increased traffic, not only during the 3 days of the festival, but the 10 days needed to set up prior to and clear up after the event. Much of Old Basing is a conservation area with narrow roads, and they already experience traffic flow and parking problems, very few pavements, no street lighting, and narrow lanes leading to the site from all directions. And we've provided photographs which should be with you, and I note also the update on the car parking thing. I'd like to reserve the right, Madam Chairman, to come back on that when we've heard the explanation from the applicants as to how they're going to manage that car parking, especially their exit along through to the site there, to the woods there, and of course a large tree log outside there on the exit. By the way, that exit that they're proposing is on a blind bend, just out of interest. So houses in Newnham Lane are immediately adjacent to the proposed festival site and will be severely impacted by noise and traffic. In this respect, the Parish Council has raised its concerns with County Councillor for Loddon Division, Elaine Steele, and her email is with you, your supplementary papers, in which she expresses concern with respect to the roads leading to the site, as this is what highways would call evolved structure. You will note our concerns regarding Riley Lane, a private road owned by the Parish Council adjacent to the proposed parking area, which is a single track lane leading directly into the centre of Old Basing and mainly used by allotment holders, families visiting the play area. Use of this lane either as an access or exit point for vehicles will not be permitted due to safety concerns for pedestrians, many of whom are young children, especially during the school holidays and a bank holiday when the play area is particularly busy. There will be pedestrians going along there as now. We understand that, and that will make things just as worse. Forget the vehicles, there'll still be pedestrians. I sincerely hope the committee will take all concerns raised by the Parish Council and residents and refuse this application on the grounds of public nuisance and the safety not only of the residents of Old Basing but also those visiting the site. In the event that the committee is minded to grant the application, however, we urge the imposition of limited the event to 1 year, and that the condition referred to for the promotion and the licensing objectives set out in our solicitor's presentation, letter 18, are adhered to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have 4 more speakers. Oh yes, sorry, questions first, thank you.
Peter, Mike.
I've just got one question for you, Peter, if you don't mind. Our licensing officer mentioned mediation. Can I just ask, has there been any prior consultation with the event organiser, with Old Basing Parish Council, and if anybody's here from Newnham Parish Council as well?
What we did have was an initial approach to our clerk who talked about this to some of the applicants, and the clerk made it clear many of the things that I've already said there and we've said in our submission to them, that we would be objecting to it. That's where it stood. We haven't gone back on that because they haven't improved their things or made any difference at all. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Schmoe?
Sorry, I think
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, yeah.
Just to clarify on that, I did then email the Parish Council again after having a little brief conversation, saying that I was happy to come down and mediate with you guys. And to the response of, no, you did not wish to see me, and if the application was successful, you would then get in contact about having a conversation with me.
I note that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? No, thank you. So, yeah, we have 4 more speakers. Just to say, obviously, we've heard quite comprehensive comments from Councillor Cubitt and from Mr. Blois. So if you could sort of not just keep repeating everything, because obviously we've heard that, we've read all of the letters, all of the papers. But anything new, obviously specifically related to where you live and how you're personally going to be impacted, would be helpful. So please, Mr. Maguire, would you like to say what you've got to say? Thank you.
Morning. Not wishing to reiterate what others have said, my background is in logistics, and I did some survey around the village, and the access point that's been proposed, and even the revised one, is not really the issue. The local routes for multiple heavy goods vehicles and or PSVs, passenger service vehicles, and the proposed one is 96, which is the largest double-decker vehicle. Through the village of Old Basing and Newnham, every access road and bridge is too low for those vehicles. The bridges themselves are rated at 12 tons. Is everybody aware of this? And we currently have problems with vehicles going over them, cracking the bridge structures. And I know the council has tried in recent times to stop these illegal vehicles coming through. Luckily, we don't get many heavy goods vehicles. We don't get any really because the access is very, very difficult. Given the width restrictions, I know those have been said, but it does make this 2-week period, and it's 2 weeks, the build-up and breakdown, it's going to potentially, and not potentially, it will be an unsafe and potentially dangerous to all local residents. Certainly, I live in Union Lane. I can't imagine how we can operate over 2 weeks with these sort of vehicles, but the bridges and road, or the bridges are just not rated at the right capacity. So that's that one point. Now, something I felt, and I did make a representation to somebody at the North Hampshire NHS Trust, and I was told that there's been no approach by anyone to find out whether or not the NHS A&E facilities here in Basingstoke at North Hants, which are very stretched currently because of the growth in the town, our A&E facilities are very difficult to access. Given the scale of up to 15,000 people, what I would describe as a high-energy dance festival, it's likely to create significant, alcohol, maybe even drug abuse issues. How will our A&E, and has anybody contacted and spoken to the NHS if they can cope with this additional load on that bank holiday weekend? And obviously, it will be a major effect for locals. We won't have the access ourselves to those facilities if it's swamped by, this many people coming to the village. And then finally, I put there so that, the comment that Old Basing isn't really rural. It's part of the Basingstoke conurbation. There are lots and lots of residents. So the problem we face, unlike say Glastonbury welcomed their festival, and the reason is because there's little income. They get a tremendous amount of economic benefit with little problem because there aren't many residents. But there are 150,000 people in Basingstoke, and this is all within a couple of miles of it. So I think that is a significant issue. One final thing, given the festival might get approval, it may go ahead, there needs to be a correct and high enough level of public liability and property insurance with the organisers that has to protect the high number of high value, there are a lot of high value properties, but more importantly, it was mentioned by somebody else, we have a lot of historic infrastructure in Old Basing, significant amount, and a Basing House, the Tithe Barn, Oliver's Battery. This festival is adjacent to these facilities. I mean, we're not talking about insurance. It could be, they're priceless in some cases. And if they get damaged, then it will be a real disaster for the village. Yeah. I think the company promoting this will have to demonstrate they have the resources and insurance and public liability insurance in place, and not just be able to walk away, which I understand has happened elsewhere when people have done these festivals. After the festival, the people promoting it, just major issue occurs, they get a big insurance claim, and the next thing they disappear. The company disappears. So we have to be very careful that they are held to account for any disastrous event that may take place. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming that you will be able to address the insurance issue when you make your representation. Is that
Yeah, the insurance and what the gentleman brought up about the NHS and the local hospitals. The paramedic team that we're using, they will liaise with the NHS. Obviously, I'd like to reassure you that we do have our own fully qualified doctor on site. We have our own ambulance team. We have everything that can be done, and they will contact the local hospitals to make sure that they're allowed to take their ambulance privately there. But that is all done to South Medical. They will arrange all of that with the NHS. But there is an ambulance on site, there is a doctor on site, and there is 12 paramedics on site for a 24-hour period. And insurance-wise, 100%, we will have the right insurances in place to cover people, the residents' properties, and anything else that goes ahead.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
No.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much, Mr Maguire. Can I ask Ms Thornley, please? Would you like to speak? Where are you? There you are.
Hello, my name's Anne Thornley. I live in Milking Pen Lane, which is probably our most congested road in the village anyway, so I know all about congestion. The difficulties I've identified in my submission have all related to access by road and also by foot. I'm curious as to why you've chosen the weekend you have, because it clashes, I believe, with the Reading Festival that weekend, but, you know, c'est la vie. But the thing really will be that you have spaces for 2,000 vehicles, to include the camping guests, according to the submissions and papers I've seen. The number I hear is 15,000 per day to attend. So even if we said that half the spaces were taken by campers, which leaves 1,000, and even if they came in with 4 people per vehicle, we have an awful lot of people who are going to be getting on buses or not having the patience to wait for buses, and there's already been identified the issues of how the buses would or would not be able to get around the lanes of Old Basing. My belief is a lot of people will approach on foot, and there's no provision for their safety. I also believe there'll be quite a few people who will use some of the, in normal times, cross-country footpaths and will access from all directions, because that's how footpaths run. And there are 2 footpaths that run down the perimeter of that site, and any number of them will come across from Chinham and Lichbit. So I think we're not talking about purely vehicular traffic, we're talking about pedestrian traffic. And yes, I know that it should be nice weather, and yes, I know it should be light in the evenings, but they've all got to get home. And then finally, I would say that if the musical event is finishing at 10:30 in the evening, we can't all be the first person on the bus that leaves the site. I don't believe the train service can meet this need. I believe that's an issue. You probably will be able to get up to Reading, but I'm not sure you'll get direct services up to London that'll, if you like, meet the steady dribble of people coming from the site. Problematic. And just personal experience, my husband used to go to Glastonbury. He only ever missed 2 until he died. And the chaos there was such that he used to go 2 days early and leave 2 days later. But I have been to, the only one I went to was Bob Dylan's concert at Blackbush, and it took 5 hours to get off the site. Yes, I know there were 250,000 people there, but we're talking about going directly onto the A30, directly down a dual carriageway to get onto the M3, and it took 5 hours to get off site. So the arrangements, I feel, are not robust for moving people or guarding their safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perhaps you could just address those issues when you make your own submission. Otherwise, you know, we'll be repeating ourselves endlessly. Do you have any questions? Yeah, Councillor.
Just an observation, not a question. I was lucky enough to go and see Bob Dylan, 1978. There was 250,000 people there.
Oh, it's nice to have Dylan supporters here. Lovely. Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much, Ms Thornley. Mr Rock.
Madam Chair, members of the committee. First point, I would like to refute an assertion made by the applicants at the SAG meeting of the 10th of October when SC stated that the majority of the residents of Newnham Lane are happy for the event to take place. This is quite definitely not the case. As the polls taken in the last 10 days, a great majority of the residents would prefer that the event does not take place. Second point I would like to raise, which many have mentioned, is the size and lack of usage of Ashmore Lane, Paws Farm Lane and Newnham Lane, according to the plan that we have had submitted to us for the route that the buses from Hook will take with their train passengers to deliver people to the site and then to return up Newnham Lane through Newnham back to Hook. I hope that members of the committee are themselves able to venture out and check on these routes that are being intended to be used. But quite definitely, for a start, the end of Newnham Lane as it approaches Newnham Common is quite impractical for a bus to use. One other point which attends to the route that they're looking to use is that the speed limit on the A30 at that point of access to Ashmore Lane is 70 miles per hour. If you are attending the festival from Hook on a bus, the bus will approach along the A30 and has to turn right across the carriageway and then go up into Ashmore Lane. That is going to be seriously dangerous because people leaving Old Basing from where the VW garage is have accelerated up to the speed limit, and people coming the other way are all racing to beat each other to get to Old Basing. That is going to be a public safety. There will be damage, there will be crashes, it has to be. And further, cars coming from Old Basing or going east, lining up to turn left to go up Ashmore Lane will cause serious problems for safety. The lady on my right has mentioned the numbers. I have done a small calculation that with 2,000 cars, that will bring 6,000 people to the festival. That leaves, according to them, another 9,000 to arrive on transport, many of which are to be by train. This will therefore involve a very large number of bus movements to get the people to the festival. I also believe that many other visitors will attend by car, and I would like to know where the applicants intend to route these cars and park them for the people in those cars to attend the festival, because it is not, as I understand it, scheduled to put those cars in the car park delineated on their plan. And my last point, which I think has been raised, if the visitors decide to walk from Basingstoke, there's no pedestrian path in the street and on Newnham Lane, and also when returning late at night to the town, there's no street lighting. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. Again, you'll be able to address those transport issues that Mr Rock has raised when you have your turn.
Are we, sorry, Madam Chair, are we allowed to?
Yes, if they don't say in their submission, we'll ask that question of them, or you can. Okay, that's coming up. Thank you. Have you got any questions to ask Mr Rock? Okay, thank you. We'll definitely come back to that. Don't worry. Right, Ms Moore, would you like to give your submission?
Yes, well, as my objections are mainly to do with traffic, a lot of it's been said, but I'll try and prune what I am going to say. I don't represent anyone, but I have spoken to people I know in Litchpit and Old Basing. Broadhurst Grove, where I live, is sort of swing lane, swings round it. And we do get a lot of late night traffic noise, which I can't help feel that this would add to. and, you know, it's August, you sleep with the windows open, don't you? I don't know if anyone else has done this exercise. I know that the plan is that people come in through Ashmore Lane. I'm not saying Ashmore Lane is suitable, obviously it isn't. Actually, I did a lot of Googling, and if you put various postcodes into Google Maps, if you come from Reading, or if you come from, say, south, Basingstoke, Southampton, it actually directs you off the M3 or the A33, actually directs you down Swingsong Lane and straight through down the street. And, I mean, people will rely, I know you can put out signs saying this way and don't go that way and so on, but people will actually put it into their sat-nav or look it up in Google or both, and they won't necessarily go the way that is planned. I'm also worried about the 2,000 cars, but I'm also worried about what happens to the other cars that haven't got a parking space that decide to turn up, and where, you know, we could end up with drives, gateways blocked. We have terrible problems with parking all the way down the street as it is, which brings me to another point. And I am in and out of, I know I live in Lichpit, but I'm in and out of Old Basing like at the proverbial cuckoo clock. You know, I really am. I've got 3 voluntary jobs that take me in there, and I'm in there on, you know, sometimes 4 wheels, mostly on foot. It's actually very difficult to get underneath the railway bridge. They talk about van-sized vehicles, which is actually very vague. I mean, I have met supermarket delivery-sized vans there struggling to get through. And if there's going to be a succession of these bringing stuff in from the, 19th of August, I think it's going to create absolute chaos. I actually noticed even some of the people who support the idea were mentioning traffic. I'm worried about people who've had day tickets leaving late at night. I'm worried about the people on foot. I did actually look up the current train timetable, and if you arrive at, say, 11:30, you know, by the time you got out the site and got on the bus and what have you, to Basingstoke at the moment, there's precisely 3 trains that you can get on before, I don't know, the big gap, you know. There's 2 going south and 1 going to London. Also, and I'm not representing Hampshire Heritage Trust, and I have to say, until I alerted the events organiser yesterday, I don't think they knew about this, I do volunteer at Basing House. The festival will clash with an event that Basing House has every year, which is the late summer fair. It won't be as big as that. It will be the other end of the village. We do have our own parking, but the parking overflows. I mean, we try very hard not to impact the village, but we know we do. And I'm a gardener and I sell plants there. And the other thing is, when families have gone round the fair, they actually often do walk into the village, go to take the kids to the recreation ground, what have you. So there's going to be even more footfall through the village at that time. One of the people supporting it suggested that some parking could be provided by Old Basing House and Old Basing's overflow. Well, it won't be, because we will be at capacity with a bit of luck. I don't know about noise management. I'm not technical. I couldn't comment on the maps and things, but it did occur to me as a sort of thought, well, if they're going to provide a phone hotline, they must expect it to get too noisy for people, and they must expect people to be phoning up. And while you can stop the music at a designated time, can you stop the people who are camping there, going out and having a good time? I mean, they've paid a lot of money. Surely they'll want to enjoy themselves. Also, doesn't this breach the Old Basing and Lichpit light pollution policy? I know the parish council introduced one. I think that's everything additional, but to be honest, I'm just really, really worried about the danger the traffic situation is going to create. That's, you know, and the exit and egress and getting along the roads, it's just, well, unimaginable, really.
Thank you very much. Again, we'll make sure that all of your points are raised. Yes.
I just want to put something out there, because we're going over the same concern about the parking. Now, originally on the first field, there was 2,000 spaces. The new parking that we have opposed, which is the 2 larger fields, we couldn't update the event management plan with the amount of spaces we had, because we didn't get the meterage until yesterday. and that's why I emailed the council and said that there'll be the new car parking spaces in the fields that we got exceed nearly 5,000. So not that we're thinking we're going to get 5,000 vehicles, but the new fields that we have taken and given back the old ones that, so you know, they're backed onto yours, we're not using them. The new fields will hold 5,000 cars. So I don't want anyone to sort of keep mentioning about the cars when I can sort of reassure you that we have, now that we've relocated the car park, that there's more than enough space for everybody to attend. That's where all the cars will go, and that's where all the cars will fit.
Thank you.
Just on the point, may I ask a question?
You may ask a
Thank
question.
you. If you put another 5,000, expecting 5,000 cars at about 2,000, how do you see that going down the two narrow little lanes that you propose to get people in and out of the? Sure, that's unsustainable. Have you not reviewed those number of cars, please? Because that's just unsustainable. You'll not get them down there.
Yeah, so when I read my statement, I'll go into detail about what the plans are. Obviously, I can comment now, but I've got a whole spiel on my statement. So if you wait a couple of minutes, I'll go through my whole statement and explain my views on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions for Ms Moore?
No.
No? Okay, thank you very much. Well, we're now going to hear from the applicants themselves, and obviously we will be asking a lot of the questions that you posed. If we miss any, you can. So over to you, please.
So this is just a little bit about an overview of us and a few things of the event. So morning councillors, resident of Old Basing. Today we're in...
Sorry, could I just interrupt you and say if you could address it?
My apologies. Sorry. Today we're here to introduce Old School Neverland Festival, which is an independent old school R&B and soul music festival. Today we make up the 3 directors of Old School Neverland, as well as in charge of most of the operation. Myself, Derek and Sean have a lot of experience working in festivals and events. The last successful we put on at Windsor, which was a concert by the castle. Before we go into further detail, I'd like to mention that we had a productive SAG meeting which took place on the 9th of October, which was great to meet all the councillors and everybody else that was involved. We understand today that we're here due to the worries and concerns of residents, and we'd like to ensure you that we've all taken great care in planning this event and attempting to interact with as many locals as I could, as well as attempting conversation with the parish council. We have taken points from experts in traffic management and noise management fields, which we would like to focus on, noise management being pages 63 to 75 of the supplementary. We also touch on other subjects surrounding the festival. First and foremost, I would like to address the noise management. Now, we've been instructed and working alongside DB Solutions. This don't stand for drum and bass. I know some people had some concerns. This is a well-known and established noise management company who have a lot of experience working in large festivals and events. Environmental Health currently had no concerns with the noise management plan. That's, as I use the word, currently. So they may raise some others. With the noise reaching the residents. Adam, who is working on behalf of DMB Solution, is working closely with Rhys Gilbert, who is the Environmental Health Officer, to maintain positive feedback regarding the noise management plan and ensuring that all residents are happy during festival hours. Sorry, guys. Adam has put together a fantastic in-depth noise management plan which gives a lot of information regarding the noise levels and where it will reach. Now, guys, I'm not fully tech, and if anyone has any questions relating to the noise, Adam is on phone. He's currently working on a project abroad. So if anyone has any questions regarding the sound and the far it will travel, Adam's currently on live chat. So if you have any questions for Adam, I can ask him and give you back the correct answers, because that is his field of expertise. The principle used for establishing adverse limits for the festival are those contained within the Code of Practice on Environmental Noise Control at Concerts. We are confident using the proposed audio technology, music noise can be kept well within the acceptable perimeter. Limit at all times during this event. And have proven, we have put together a noise management plan via our noise count prediction software. Now that basically tells you how far it can travel, where it can go, We always work it on a worst case scenario, but the projections we got were good, and on live events, they always seem to be better results. D&B Solutions have assigned a team to be on site for the whole duration of the event, even when the event is not active from live music or recorded music, to make sure that we do not exceed a certain amount of noise from festival goers. We understand there's campers, but there are going to be noise counts outside of the event, which will calculate the amount of noise that does travel around the areas. And that does include when the festival is not live with music. So if the campers are extremely loud, which I doubt very much, then we can address it internally inside the festival. But there will be a constant noise reading for 24 hours a day for the whole duration of the event. I'm now going to pass you over to Derek, who's going to instruct you guys, who's going to basically discuss with you guys the traffic. It's just one thing I want to clarify. I know everyone's really concerned about Arctics going up and down the road and the infrastructure that we'll have on the village. We are looking, if this licence is to be permitted, we would look to stretch the deliveries of the vehicles from the day that we're permitted to the live event day of the festival. So rather than having a two-window where there would be a few large vehicles coming in, we'd spread it across the duration of the 10 months. So you wouldn't even really notice the vehicles coming in. Because we have access to the top of the lane, the storage containers are all ours, everything up there is ours. So therefore, we can store stuff over the course of 10 months and you guys won't notice. So that would make it a lot more sustainable for you, for traffic, within them 2 weeks with the build-up. The Harris fencing and everything's already been delivered. It's already up there in containers. It came a few weeks back, so it's already there. So we're trying to just spread it out across 10 months so that everything's up there already, rather than having a really busy 2-week window. That's all.
Thank you, Sean. Regarding traffic concerns born of the introduction of the festival, we have set out to develop a traffic management system for the area that works effectively for the locals and for the event traffic outlined in our licensing objectives, Appendix 7 2.1. We acknowledge the rural and residential location of the event and surrounding areas. We'll be working closely with a professional event traffic management company called Blue Arrow Traffic Management, who have the expertise and experience in providing bespoke traffic management solutions for all types of events. We've had numerous meetings relating to traffic management and how we can run the event safely and with little to no disruption to local residents. Once the official plan has been finalised, we will look to open a dialogue with Ian Ackerman from the Basingstoke and Dean Highways Department. This was mentioned during our SEC meeting on the 9th, as mentioned earlier by Sean. This dialogue will be ongoing, exploring traffic routes and management options whilst taking into careful consideration and suggestions from the local community, which are noted in public doc page addenda for licensing and subcommittee pages 15 to 29, other parties' representation. In discussions with Blue Arrow, we have proposed that we advise everyone to use junction 6 of the M3. At the next roundabout, we'd take the A30 London Road eastbound towards Hook, turning left onto Ashmore Lane. This route will then continue onto Paws Farm Road, turning left into the car park. Due to the nature of this road, we would apply for the local authority to adapt it, making it a one-way ingress. During the course of the day, we would reverse this process for egress, thus directing the traffic towards the A30. Once they've reached the end of Ashmore Lane, it will turn left directly onto Hook, so no vehicles will be crossing over the A30. We will invoke a traffic management lane system within the car parks to control the congestion. To elaborate, this will be to align the cars within the space of effective fields, effectively to alleviate any congestion on the road networks, thus giving us time to park the cars effectively and maintaining order on the local road network. We acknowledge that the A30 is a dual carriageway and we require it to implement reduced speed measures. Putting this system in place will drastically reduce any vehicles going anywhere near Old Basing or Litchpit villages. Of course, this strategy will be more intricate once the plan is finalised. We plan to receive campers on the Friday and leave on the Monday, and our day guests will be attending the Saturday or Sunday. As a result of this traffic, will spread over 4 days, preventing a high volume of vehicles coming and going at once. In addition to reducing the impact of traffic, we are sourcing shuttle buses for guests travelling from Hook and Basingstoke train stations every 15 minutes. We have booked a local bus company called Horseman Coaches Limited, who are experienced in driving in these local roads. We of course have pre-planned routes once the traffic management plan is finalised. Their coaches hold 33 passengers at full. Sorry, they hold 33 passengers at full capacity per trip. I understand residents expressed their concerns about train times, causing worry that attendees could not possibly sleep rough in the streets.
They hold 50. Sorry, guys. They hold 53.
I said 53.
Okay.
Rough in the streets. We've looked at train times. The last train time from Basingstoke train station is 23:43 on both Saturday and Sunday. We want to reassure that all those concerned that we'll be clearly advertising throughout all communication platforms, such as our website, social media networks, and booking systems, to make sure people plan their journeys home accordingly. The safety and security of our guests, as well as local residents on and off the site, is paramount. Working closely with the local emergency services such as fire service and police to ensure we effectively provide a safe environment for all. We have email trails referencing our dialogue with these services. In addition to this, we have sourced professional companies qualified in their relevant fields. We've been working closely with a fire safety management company called EMFS Group Limited to ensure they have detailed fire plans and will update this progress on our event management plan in due course. We are hoping to support the local community through creative collaboration, as well as producing job opportunities for local businesses. We have already made a conscious effort to liaise with 2 local businesses, first one being Andwell Brewery Co., a local brewery. We have met with Adam Cromer, I can't say his name, sorry. Cromer, thank you. To discuss the range of local brew products and opportunities to supply the event if it was to go ahead. The local business, with the second business we have, was Stage Events located off Newham Lane. They provide bespoke fixtures and transform into event sets and scenery, showcasing expressive props and other equipment. Both parties have expressed keen interest and positive interest if a licence was to be granted. We're open to be enthusiastic and hear of other local businesses interested in supporting this event. We're confident our meticulous planning and collaboration with relative authorities will ensure successful promotion of the licence objectives, which again can be found on Appendix 7, Objectives, page 3. Subject to licence being approved, we would engage in future parish council meetings if there are letters to share updates, answer any questions, and ensure local community is well informed of our plans and receive information directly from us and not from a third-party source. To conclude, we are passionate in making this a safe and successful event, experience, and hope that the vision of a prosperous future working hand in hand with the local businesses of our basin and surrounding areas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm anticipating a few questions now. First of all, I'm going to ask my colleagues if that's okay.
I've got quite a few.
Okay. And have you got one as well? Okay, no.
Can I just make one very small clarification in your statement, Derek? Ian Ackerman is Hampshire County Council Highways, not Basingstoke and Dean, but that's all. Okay, just to clarify for the other parties.
Don't mind if I go first, dear. There's quite a lot that you've mentioned that we want to query, but the bottom line really for me is, I don't know how we can decide if we haven't got a finalised traffic management plan. I mean, that is crucial to the residents of Old Basin and surrounding area. I think that is crucial. I mean, we're deciding on something without a real traffic management plan. That I'll ask you questions as you go. It's purely a commercial event, not charitable.
There was a local charity that we will be donating a percentage to the cups to, but it was not something that we wanted to release in our statement under what charity it is, because we like to just keep it closed. But we do donate from the cups. The reusable goes to a charity, yes.
You've mentioned your experience. How many events have you actually staged?
From the largest one, probably the best part of about 15, 20 large events, exceeding 10,000.
There's been mentioned about controlling noise and curfew times. Obviously, the alcohol licence is for the fenced area. Campers are going to be allowed to consume alcohol for their own usage without a licence. So, I mean, are you confident that you can control that?
Yes, so we will be limiting the amount of alcohol people will bring into the event, so it'll be 1 crate per person. That's based on the group. There won't be a point where people will come in with full-on sack barrels full of alcohol to promote, excessive drinking. Our security measures in place. We'll see everyone will be searched prior to entry of the event. That will be no glass coming in on site. Purely just be purely plastic only or cans. And obviously our security, without going into full detail on the security, we've got quite a lot of security patrolling throughout the whole event. Got quite a lot of security throughout the whole event patrolling it, and obviously tower security as well to control the crowds. Obviously after our license, after our event closes down at 10:30.
Whilst we decide this one, every licensing application on its merits, I mean, I'm drawing on my experience with 12 years of the event, Carfest being held in Overton. And there are things that happen there where it's strongly consulted with parish councils, and they have wash-up events afterwards and stuff like that. I urge you to do so. But and we have listened to objections from people that are here today. But are there any local concessions to people that want to go from the actual villages of Basing and Lichfield? Because people might be surprised how many attend from that actually area.
When I approached some locals, we did say as a company we would put aside X amount of tickets for people that live in the area and surrounding area to attend for free, to make them feel more welcome. Some of these were accepted and some were not, and neither was I. So there would be a concession for locals that live in the area to attend the festival for free.
I'm not necessarily asking about 3. I'm asking about availability. First, what they do in certainly in Carfest, the first choice goes to residents, local residents, which may minimise the number of traffic people coming. But that was just an observation, really. As far as your 15,000 go, have you got a specific split on the way you see it being split between day visitors, weekend visitors and camping visitors?
Because it's a new location, we applied for the licence of 15,000. In all honesty, it would be hard to give you a number because we don't know the response we're going to get because of the location. We put an application in for 15,000 to 19,900. We are capping it at 15. There would be no more than that. But realistically, from previous events, we sort of carry about 10,000 campers normally on a given event, which would only leave availability of X amount of day comers. And if this is given first dibs to the locals or they accept the extra tickets for free, then obviously the day numbers would then come down again because there would be no availability. So the idea is to promote it earlier to the locals and to the campers, which would then reduce disruption over the weekend, because once they arrive on a Friday, they're there till the Monday. But from previous events, we would be looking to increase our camping numbers rather than day ticket holders. But I can't give you an exact number because I wouldn't know until tickets go on sale. But I mean, I'm happy to liaise with yourselves and the parish council on a weekly meet to say, look, guys, this is the numbers that we're currently at, and the more campers we get, the less traffic and headache it's going to be for the locals.
One more question. Is your delegated premises supervisor a part of your event company, or have you sublet the bars to someone else?
The bars and everything are run by ourselves. We have our own licensing person, Barry and Steve, but we run it all ourselves. We do it large major events across the UK and large stadiums as well. We are very, very large in the retail sector.
One question, if I may. This is regarding public safety. I did look at your websites, and the old school Neverland did have this comment saying, "Don't miss your chance to relive the past and party like there's no tomorrow." I'm not quite sure who that's aimed for or what age. But that would imply that, especially with the campsite, there could be some issues with people going over the top, etc. Could you just, I think you may have already mentioned it, but reiterate the security for when things at night get out of control?
So, my experience, I've worked for I've worked for VFest Festival in Chelmsford for 7 or 8 years before it closed down. My job was basically to look after the red and yellow campsites, and the average demographic age group there is people that are under 16, 17, up to any age really. But realistically, the music that they approach people for was early 20s, and so the antisocial behaviour and that kind of music obviously is a bit different. Obviously, it was more kind of, I'd say, what's the right word? It was more rowdy because it was a youth kind of generation. The demographic we're going for is music that's been around from the 90s. So realistically, the age group we're going for is 25 at the least, up to 40s plus. We're looking at families. We're looking at couples. We're looking at older people. So in terms of managing them people, obviously we'll have 24-hour security in our campsites. We'll have event control with cameras operating across the whole site in terms of constantly monitoring that. We'll have adequate response vehicles and buggies. The measures that I'd put in place in VFest, I'll have the same kind of measures in place I'd have for this festival, because obviously from our point of view, from a security background, I want to make sure that it is secure as possible and safe as possible for everyone that's going to be attending the site. Hopefully that answers your question.
Sorry, sir, just one more thing on the security side. We did have a discussion as well about we will be looking to, if we can, put street teams outside of the festival for any antisocial behaviour with body cams to prevent anybody. Now, we're aiming for that older demographic, so we're hoping this doesn't happen, but there will be patrol teams outside of the festival wearing body cams to relieve of any antisocial behaviour for any of the locals. They'll be clearly in sight with high-vis, so that if anybody wants to see them, they can, and if anybody has any concerns, they can approach them as well.
If I could just have a look at one or two of the comments that were made by some of the objectors here. Just both Councillor Cubitt and Mr Rock mentioned about the residents of Newnham Lane. I mean, it's important to us, that we know what the feelings are of the people who live really close to it. And it seems that contrary to what you said, they're not all very happy about it. What sort of consultation did you do with these people?
I went out and saw as many locals as I could. I saw Mr Rock, I saw his wife, the neighbours, people up Wild Farm, another gentleman that lives adjacent to the festival. I tried to see as many as I could. Mr Rock, his partner, and their neighbours were the only ones that I was approached for on that day that I went round and saw everyone and give the public notices out for that was against it. We have got contacts for other people in the area that were for it. It was a mixed bag in all honesty, but the ones that I'd spoke to down the lane and in Wild Farm had no objections to it. Some people were for it due to trying to prevent property development that might take place there. So with us being there for a year or so, it would stop the property development going ahead. But people I had spoke to were for it. They had some concerns. Like, they wasn't just, yeah, we'd love it. It was, we'd love it, but we're concerned about this. And I was there for the day. Mr Rock invited me into his grounds where I went. We looked at the back of his house. He also said to me that one of the fields that we were using were adjacent to his garden. Took that away and we relieved the field and we're no longer using it because that was his biggest concern. So to alleviate the concern that he had, we no longer used that field. And other residents, Mandy and a few of the others that we had met, were for it. So on the day, I had positive feedback. I had some negative, but I had more positive than negative.
Thank you very much. Pedestrians, there was it Miss Thornley mentioned about pedestrians using the various routes. Have you got any handle on that?
So the way that we're trying to control the route, there is only one route into the festival and one route out, and it is all Harris fenced off. So trying to come across fields and makeshift country lanes, as we like to call them, you're going to end up being in a dead end because you can't get into the festival. You have to go the same way as everybody else, because that is the way that security tents are set up. So there's no other way of getting in. Through Wildwood Farm, that will all be Harris fenced off. No one will be coming in through there no more. But the route that we've planned is the only route into the event. So as far as walkers are concerned, there isn't really any way from them, where the festival is now located, unless they come across certain people's lands, which is all fenced off, it's not really going to happen. They have to follow the route the same as everybody else. The route is signposted, is Harris fenced off. You have to follow that route. We will try, and we are looking at set locations with the traffic management company to put stewards out. You know, if we do see walkers, which, I mean, if they're part of the festival, we're going to do our utmost to get them straight into the correct walkways. But we're just waiting for the traffic management company to come back with a definite route on what they advise. We were trying to liaise with a few more people, parish council, local council, to see if they think that the route that we're opposing is okay. But back to the walkers, if we find them, then we will be looking to put them straight on the correct path.
Thank you. And now, forgive me if you've already addressed this. I might not have been paying attention, but I'm just talking about people who are day visitors by car. Not everybody's going to be camping. And I noted that Ms Moore pointed out that it's actually the summer fair of Basing House. I would imagine that Old Basing gears itself and takes deep breath when that happens. I'm quite sure that cars are parked all through the village on that particular weekend. So how confident are you that the festival isn't going to add to that problem?
In relation to that, obviously that event, it's the first time we're actually aware that events happened on the same weekend, being truthful. Obviously, with dialogue with the council, we wasn't even aware that we was aware of Reading Festival, which obviously is in Reading, adjacent to the M4. So we wasn't, so again, obviously the weekend that we planned for the event to go ahead isn't set in stone. We can accommodate based on other weekends. The reason why we chose that weekend is because of the bank holiday, to allow people to get out without affecting them too much in terms of their day-to-day lives. And also being a bank holiday weekend, hopefully people would either come to it and enjoy it more. So it isn't set in stone in dates. Obviously, when we planned for it, it was from July to August. So we would just propose them dates going forward. So what was your other question? Sorry, I got off there. It's a tangent.
It's just been pointed out it's also the weekend of Carfest, so yes.
So that was brought up obviously on a SAG meeting originally, when we first made notes on it.
Thank you.
But again, obviously the demographic is a completely different kind of field of people that we're approaching. Obviously different to the road network, but that's why it's been brought to light.
We are open to moving the date if it accommodates everybody else. The date doesn't have to be set in stone.
Has the licensing officer got any questions?
No, Chair, not at the moment. No, thank you.
Have anybody, thank you, Councillor Cubitt, what would you like to ask?
Hi, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I've just been doing a little bit of research on the company, and I'm a little confused, and on LinkedIn. I'm a little confused about your company's expertise in large events, because under LinkedIn you're coming up as a private security expert, which is great. And there's a quote here with you asking whether anyone's got large amounts of Harris fencing to rent. And then if you look at the corporate submission of this company, it was founded in May 2023, and Sian's mentioned as filing it, but then there's a Matthew Loveridge, and then there's a Linda who's resigned. So, and then when you look at the website, ATL is a recruitment consultancy. So I'd love to have a little bit more flesh on the bone in terms of experience? Thank you.
Can you reassure us?
Yeah, no worries. So, to security perspective, I'm in charge of 5 major stadiums across London and the UK. So the Oval is solely my ground. I'm head of control and run the best part of 250 staff any given event day. Twickenham Stadium, 83,000. Myself and Derek are in charge of the best part of 40,000 public, as well as running a team of excessive of 600. The O2 we did from start to finish, and that's from set up to de-rig and evacuate a bit, like escort everyone out of the O2. That was 20,000. We're Harlequins. We're also V Festival, Concert in the Castle, Boomtown we did, SW4, Wireless. So we have years and years of experience in the sector. ATL Recruitment 12 went into administration during COVID, which I know some people have pointed out, and kindly shared that with everyone else on social media, which a direct approach would have been nicer. It went into administration due to finances due to COVID, because we are massive in events and retail and event security. There was nothing on for 2 years. ATL Hospitality and ATL Security came off the back of ATL Recruitment and went into 2 different sectors. Me and Derek have worked in Northern Ireland on private security for the Army. We've worked for Emirati families on private security. We've done all of that, and Sean has gone over to make ATL Hospitality and Events, which is solely for event purposes. We used to do a lot of contracts for BA as well before COVID, but when COVID came, it destroyed us. And that's being honest. We were running since 2015 fantastically. COVID came and it wiped us out. So we made 2 smaller companies that are still significantly quite big in the event industry, still used at major events, still used at major stadiums, and we look to grow. I hope that helps a little bit. And if there's anything else, by all means, you can contact me directly if you want some reassurance or anything like that. I don't mind.
Thank you very much. There was somebody else. Yes.
Just a couple of action points. Sorry, I'm usually loud enough for people to hear, but never mind. Factual points. One, you said that you're going to reverse the flow and take it down the A30, and you'll be turning left. Yeah, people are going to Basingstoke station. You have to turn right. So you can't just turn left and go round. You've got to, or then you've got to hook round and go down by there. So there's a serious risk of a number of coaches and backing up onto the A30. You can't avoid that by just saying you're turning left. Otherwise, you're going to Hook Station and getting buses in and out of Hook Station at night. It's a narrow road in. That number, forget it. So you haven't addressed the issue of narrow lanes. It's one way. Now I cycle. I cycle around and I take my grandchildren out in the village and I cycle around. Bank holidays to the playgrounds and whatever, I encourage them and I cycle. You're cutting me off from that because the number of cars, people around will make it totally unsafe for me to go about my life on that weekend. No matter what you do, the lanes are too narrow to go down for a bike and a bus or anything else. It cannot work. I cycle down Newnham Lane. Yeah, I cycle down. Getting a car and me down any parts of Newnham Lane, just a bike, is impossible. We have to stop, let alone the bigger trucks, no chance. Sorry, yeah.
You haven't actually registered to speak, and you're actually speaking.
I apologise.
It's just a question, if that's
I've asked the question. It's about the transport going round, and I do apologise.
Yeah. There's measures in place that can be put in there regarding permits over the weekend for residents only. Putting in place in terms of vehicles to be towed away if they're parked in certain lanes that they shouldn't be, because there's certain lanes there. That road, Paws Farm Road and leading up towards Newham Lane is used heavily by Arctic lorries. I've even got a video myself. I've got a video. Can I answer the question, please?
That's not true.
I've got a video on my phone I can show you of a vehicle driving up.
Can I interrupt you, please? Can you turn your thing? If I could just explain that all of this traffic concern is a secondary thing as far as licensing is concerned. As my fellow councillors will know, that we are mainly concerned with noise and with the sale of alcohol. This is peripheral to us, and we will be relying on the experts on this, obviously yourselves who know the roads really well, the Highway Authority and the police. And this will be decided at the next Safety Advisory Group meeting, and we will be obviously looking to them being absolutely happy that everything is right and accurate as well, because we will make sure of that. And so I know that Ms. Shamoa will be at that meeting and will have heard everything that's going on, and will make sure that the serious concerns that are relevant will be addressed at the SAG. Is that correct? Yes, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'll just obviously clarify. The next Safety Advisory Group meeting is obviously dependent on whether this licensing application is granted today. If it is granted, then I would be looking at probably starting further SAG meetings in the new year. And it won't just be one SAG meeting. I would imagine it would take several, and obviously the applicants are aware of this. They came to the first SAG. It was the first SAG. It was very at the very beginning of their journey, let's say. So yes, the next Safety Advisory Group meeting will look at, once again, the noise management plan, the traffic management plan, the actual safety event management plan, and it is a live document. It's evolving, as the applicants have said. So yes, we will be having at least one or two more SAGs should the application be granted.
And if, and I have no idea, this licence is granted, then whatever conditions are attached have got to be accurately and robustly agreed on and fulfilled, or it won't happen. Okay, so just to reassure you of that our licensing decision is made around the licensing, the licensable activities, but there will be conditions that also have to be met, or it won't happen. Yes, one more question at the back.
Well, I apologise that traffic is peripheral, but it's not peripheral to us. I'd like to challenge the idea that they can get everything there well ahead of the 19th. Wearing a different hat, I was involved in organising Old Basing Village Carnival. You can't get the caterers to come in early, and people that wanting to sell things, they're going to be coming as early as, as near as possible. Antwerp won't turn up till the night before, if then. So I don't think, okay, you can get fences in, fine, yes, but I can't help thinking that the majority of the infrastructure will be coming in just before the event. It's merely an observation.
Regarding the caterers, this is where we said we would spread it over a period of time. So obviously, as Madam over there inquired about the Harris fencing, it's already up the top. That's where it got delivered. It's already there. It was a substantial amount of Harris fencing. It's already there. The site generators are already there. There is other stuff already there. We do other events, and that's where we've been beginning to store it. The caterers would be the only one miss over the short period of time that would come in, but what we're trying to do is alleviate all the larger vehicles and all the larger equipment coming in over a short period of time. We've put the toilets on hire for a longer period of time. We won't be using them, but they'll be on site for us for a longer period of time, which will reduce the amount of artics that come through on a weekly period. So then is the way that we're planning on doing it, so that the vehicle and traffic is reduced over the period of time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to say too much about traffic because we haven't got a traffic management plan, and I note that you could make a decision without that, but that would be rather foolish in my view if you do. But nevertheless, setting aside the traffic, the vehicular traffic, I'm thinking about the pedestrians. And we didn't get a very clear answer. It says there's one route for pedestrians. Could you explain Lane?
The permits for the residents. I understand the population of the village, and that is not massive. So we was happy to, or inquire, before I say happy, the price of resident permits, and we would man the roads. No permit, no entry. It's that simple. Other festivals turn around and go back the same way. Walkers, as far as Riley Lane concerned, I understand the parish council own that road. I can't stop locals from using that. Okay, I can't stop people from walking up that road. because I don't know the difference between locals and festival goers, whereas some people may. I can't tell a resident that's been in Old Basing that approached me yesterday that is in her late 60s that is absolutely ecstatic that she wants to come to this festival. Now, I don't know that she is a resident, I don't know if she's a festival goer, but if she goes up Riley Lane, I can't tell someone that's been there for 30 years to turn around and go back the other way. The only entrance, as you are correct, is from the car park. That is where we are aiming everything to go. The buses can turn around in there. They're only 53 seaters. They're not single deckers, the same as the ones that I drive in London. They're not that big. They've got a massive turning circle. They can turn around. As far as Riley Lane's concerned, if the parish council would like some infrastructure in there and some security to stop people from walking in, I'm more than happy to put it in place. It would only be manpower and fencing, but to protect your grounds as well as other stuff, it is something that we can have conversation with you about doing it. Again, I can't stop the public from using it. It's
public footpath.
Yeah.
Can I come back on that? Thank you.
Briefly.
Yeah, you're right. You don't know who's going up Riley Lane, but locals may walk up there, but other people who know the area will drive and they will park in Old Basing and they will go up there. You've got to use the top end right next to the railway line for pedestrians. Many pedestrians will come along the lane that leads from Milking Pen Lane and they will go over the narrow footbridge over the railway and that way. And that means they will park at the end of Milking Pen Lane where it meets that footpath near the Scout Hut. And there will be problems there. Thank you.
You don't have to answer that. Okay. Okay, once again, I don't want to get caught up in all sorts of detail, which we're not going to be dealing with such details as that in this particular hearing. There was just, before Councillor Cubitt, there was somebody behind who wanted to ask something. Yes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't asked to speak, but I've been listening to all you're saying. And I just thinking about having the new addendum we had today about Paws Farm, and we were having parking for 2,000 people. We've just heard that we're now having parking for 5,000 cars. We have no plans of that, we have nothing, and we've just been told it now. And I think I agree with other councillor that it's imperative before decisions are made that we do have this traffic plan, because we're hearing about turning left and right, Newnham Lane, which is absolutely appalling going up to the Green. And I know you're talking about traffic, but I'm talking about safety as well here. And I just feel there's nothing concise, nothing definite, and every 24 hours recently, the plans are changing, and we need to have confirmation about the parking. Personally, I'm worried because it's farmland, and you only need rain, and 5,000 cars could be waterlogged there. And what plans? We're talking about the safety of people and getting out. And I think there's so much more to look into before any decisions are made. It's a really worrying problem for everyone in that area.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, is this a question, Councillor Cubitt? Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. We know that you're going to have 330 toilets and some disabled toilets. And we have a big issue with sewage in our area. I'm the queen of poo. I talk about it regularly. And we were just wondering how many...
And jet wash all the camping area, so we'll clean it all out, jet wash it all down, try and make them as pleasant as we can, because bear in mind, I've got to be there for a week, and I don't particularly want to smell them neither. So the idea is that we clean them all properly, we jet wash them all down, the same as every other event, try and make them as fresh as we can. When the campers revert back, or sort of half we'll only be operating the toilet cleaning during hours. That's what they've advised us to do, and that's what they've given us.
Thank you very much. I think we've probably explored most relevant aspects already, if you're agreed. There's no other burning issue that needs to be raised. Thank you. We normally have a summing up. If you'd like to sum up, then I will do that in the same order that you spoke in the first place. Do you need to say anything, licensing officer?
Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify really that the licensees have a responsibility to ensure that the licensable activities are run responsibly and in compliance with the licensing authorisations and conditions. And when determining the application, the subcommittee must consider the evidence of all parties at today's hearing and have regard to the Council's licensing policy and guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and then take steps they consider appropriate to promoting the licensing objectives. And as I mentioned before, the options available are in the agenda for you to refer back to. Again, the applications must be considered on their own merits, with activities and conditions needing to be tailored to the application. And once again, the guidance sets out that the licence conditions must be practical, enforceable, related to the licensable activities of the premises and worded so that they can be complied with. And just one last thing, that today's panel have 5 working days to make a decision on today's hearing.
As far as the other speakers are concerned, we've got copious notes here. We know everything you've said. Debbie hasn't stopped typing since we started. I wonder if perhaps Councillor Cubitt could just do a quick round, if you'd be happy, just a quick round-up on behalf of people who've spoken.
Well, I think, to reiterate, I think that some compelling evidence has been submitted to you, Madam Chairman and committee members, and that I think it's very clear from the information that we've had all around that, in summary, this licence application for 15,000 visitors at Old Basing and Lichpit over a long weekend in 2024, and we request that it be refused because it will cause significant public nuisance to a large swathe of residential properties less than half a mile from the location in Old Basing and Lichpit, and that it will pose a threat to public safety. For these reasons, and more besides, we think that we have given you a number of reasons that give legitimate cause to prevent this licence application from going forward. Thank you very much.
And the applicants, would you like to say a few last words? You don't have to. Okay, as long as you feel you've had a fair hearing. Okay, thank you. So in a minute, I'm going to have to pass a motion which will effectively ask you all to leave so that we can make our deliberations, but also end the meeting because, as Ms. Shimowo said, we will be giving our decision within 5 working days, so it's not going to happen today. There's too much for us to be thinking of. If I could just remind you as well that should this go ahead, and I'm not saying for 1 minute that it will, but should it go ahead, and if subsequently it's shown that there isn't proper regard for one or more of the licensing objectives, a review of the licence can be requested. And then there will be another hearing like this one, and then you're likely to there's likely to be proper evidence, and there may be a different decision made on the licence. But so the fail-safe, I mean, I know that none of you want this to go ahead, but if by any chance it does, and I'm not saying it will, if there's any problems that are significant and relevant, then we can have another hearing and make another decision. Okay, now then, I have to do a formal... Oh. I'm sure the applicant knows as well that if we refuse the licence, they can appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Thank you. Very good. Right, so I'm now going to pass the motion, if I may, and I've got the wording here somewhere. Okay, thank you. That pursuant to Section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the remainder of the meeting on the ground that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing it, and therefore that exempt information is likely to be disclosed, as defined in paragraph 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. I'm sure you all understood that. Are we agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. What that effectively means is thank you so much for coming, and you'll be hearing in due course what our decision is. Thank you.
Thank you very much.